And now, more You Talk. Now,
we are doing another behind the scenes kind of unplugged conversation today. And I have a new friend, and I'm looking forward to our chat. Her name is Brooke Robertson. She's from Louisiana. She talks different than I do.
A little bit.
Welcome to You Talk. Thanks for taking time.
No, thank you for having me.
Okay, now there's a question that begs to be answered. Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay. And Robertson. Mm-hmm. Like Duck Dynasty Robertson. Is there a connection there, Brooke?
No, I've never been duck hunting before. So. No, I get asked that all the time. And I always tell people, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me that, I'd be rich. But I'm not. It would help me out, though, if I was. So
it probably would, but that we'll leave that. But that question made me. And the other one is accent. Okay, you have a different accent than I have.
Yeah.
But you were telling me before we started that there's not just like Louisiana accent.
Mm-mm. No, there's Cajun French, Dalmatian, country bumpkin, me, and just there's several different accents in Louisiana, and I think maybe it's just from like immigration and stuff over the years. It's just a melting pot. They call it a melting pot.
Oh, it's a great place. I want to see more of Louisiana. I've only been to New Orleans. I love the music. Mm-hmm. I love the food. And I think I remember this correctly. Somebody telling me when I was there that good Cajun food is not supposed to be hot. It's spicy.
It is spicy.
Is that the
way?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Crawfish. Have you ever had crawfish?
Oh, I love it.
So you've had crawfish.
Yes.
Have you ever had boudin?
Yes.
Okay. So you've had good Cajun. Red beans and rice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the good food.
It's funny because in Southern California, there's a restaurant by one of the universities, and they claim they have Cajun food, and I've had it, and it's like, this ain't the real deal.
Typically, when you go out of Louisiana, it's like Cajun food. Like, you typically stay away from that,
Yeah.
Some people can get it if they're from Louisiana, but I don't know, the food, that's one thing. If I ever moved out of Louisiana, it'd be really hard to leave the food. Family first, but the food second.
Well, see, being Italian, it comes out in everything. So
I'm Italian too. I don't look it, but my grandfather's full-blood Italian. Yeah.
I knew there was a deeper connection.
See?
Just
feel it.
A paisan, you know that. Yeah. Well, then like trying to find good Italian food.
Oh yeah, my great-grandmother cooked the best Italian food. Oh. So good.
Oh. Okay, you are a singer, songwriter.
Yes.
What else?
Well, that's what I am right now. I was working at an orthotic and prosthetic company for 6 years, and 3 weeks ago put my month notice in, and I'm doing music and ministry full time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a step of faith for me, and even though it's uncertain, I believe there's growth there.
Yes.
So just trusting God in that.
How long has the process been to get to where you are now to be able to say no to the day gig and full-time ministry?
Well, I mean, I've been doing the music thing for 6 years now.
Okay.
Professionally. And honestly, there hasn't been this set, I made it. Mm-hmm. That moment in my life where I'm like, yep, I made it, it's time to go. It's more or less, I'm in this place where I know it's time to let go of fear of I've been comfortable, and I have this steady paycheck coming in every 2 weeks, and that's keeping me comfortable.
Sure.
But God's like, hey, I need to push you outside of that and make you a little uncomfortable here. And I'm just basically trusting God right now. It's a whole nother level of trust that I've never experienced before.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And some people are saying, I don't know about this trusting God kind of thing, but that's a bold move, because when you have that steady check coming in, you're not worried, and you can do some other things on the side.
Yeah, I guess it's like you take a step back from life and you just realize how crazy things are in the world, and people need hope, and they need to hear it, and why am I here? What's my purpose here on earth? And
that's huge.
Yeah, it's like one thing that I've not questioned, but through music, God's really shown me it's to go out and share my story, and go out and share hope with people who are hurting. And it may look different than other people, and it may not be stardom and fame, but it's ministry, and that's why I do it. And it's for Jesus. At the end of the day, He's the reason why I'm alive right now, and why I'm here sharing my story, and so I can't help but to go out and share that.
If you could, for those who don't understand ministry, succinctly, what is that? It's for ministry, you said. Is
God's put something in me, not just music and songs, but a story of how I overcame sexual abuse. And so I could have kept that in my whole life. And for 15 years I did. I was 10 years old when it happened, and I was silent for 15 years. And I carried shame. I felt dirty. I felt alone.
Brooke.
I was scared. And so for me as a kid, how do you process something like that? And so I didn't. I buried it deep down, and I pretended like nothing ever happened. And I hid it very well. I was a straight A student. I was goofy. I didn't have the red flags they say to look for. And behind closed doors at night, I'd cry myself to sleep. And so for years, I was in this place where I became numb to it. I promised myself I would go to the grave with this story. I would never share it with anybody. And then I found myself 15 years later doing music. And I still didn't have full idea of like what that looked like for me, because I didn't feel good enough. My identity was, I was confused just because I felt worthless. And at the end of the day, I wasn't healed. Like I had some things that I hadn't let go of. And so that's where the ministry started, I believe. And it's been a growth journey for 6 years. And but I've shared this story for the first time, 2 years ago when I wrote this song. But before I wrote the song, I was praying. I just signed to a record label, and I had this pressure to write a record, 10 songs. And I'm like, how am I going to write 10 songs?
Yeah, that's a lot of songs.
And like you just feel this pressure of just life and this responsibility. Like, okay, God has me in this Christian music industry for a reason. That's a responsibility.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, what do you want me to write about? And this story surfaced. And before, I could always just bury it deep down and like, okay, forget about it. But this time it wouldn't leave me. And that's when I knew it was God. Like, that's when I knew it was different. And so I'm like, I fought God. I mean, we're human. We're going to battle.
Yeah, I mean, that's a natural instinct.
Exactly. So it's like, God, there's no way that I'm going to be able to share this, because I have to tell my friends and family and then the entire world. And that terrified me. And so I prayed for clarity. I was like, God, if this is really where you have me, if this is really what you want me to do, if ministry and music is my purpose, then just reveal that to me. Like, show me what that truly means on a deeper level. And so I didn't get the clarity that I wanted. Like, you want these arrows pointing, like, this is where I need you. And but instead it was something that I had to do on my end. And so I felt like, for me, I had to reach out to my abuser. And so I did. And I reached out and I said, I just want you to know that I forgive you, and God forgives you, and God loves you. And like, it was that moment where I was fully healed. It was that moment that I didn't know I needed. But God had that figured out 10 years ago as a little girl, that I was going to have to walk through some things, and it was going to be really hard, but that he would show me my purpose, and that he would show me the depth of this ministry, and that is how to forgive someone who's hurt you deeply. How do you do that? I've had people laugh at me, or how can you forgive somebody that hurt you like this? And I'm like, well, look at Jesus. Jesus was on the cross, and he died for you and me. And as he's being beat to death by his own people, he says, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. I'm like, Jesus forgave people who were killing him, then I can do it. Because there was purpose on the cross, there's purpose for my life, there's purpose for everyone's life. And that's purpose in my ministry, is to go out and just share that there's freedom and forgiveness. You don't have to let that hold you back.
I like that. That's huge. And a lot of people are in chains because they can't forgive. And forgiveness does not mean forgetting.
Exactly.
Forgiveness means I'm going to move on.
Yeah, it doesn't excuse the wrong done.
Yes.
And I think that's where the confusion happens. Because I'm like, I can't forgive that person. It doesn't excuse that wrong done. It still is wrong.
No, it's still wrong.
But it allows you to walk free. I was weighted down by it. I felt shame. I felt dirty. I felt all of these things, and it's ultimately holding me back from what I could do, what God could do through me. And so when you let that go, you forgive, you show Jesus with people who've hurt you. Like, the enemy is just slapped down.
Now, what happened when you went to your abuser or contacted them, however that happened? What kind of response did you get?
So initially it was apologetic, and I didn't expect that. But if you fast forward a month before the record, everything is in the pipes, okay? It's going to Spotify, it's going to the whole world in a month.
Yeah.
And this person reached back out and didn't want to call it abuse. And those feelings started to come back. Those feelings like, should I even call my manager? Like, should I even be doing this? Like, am I making the right decision?
Yeah.
And I'm thankful for the people in my life that hold me accountable and pull me back in line. And then just that discernment from the Holy Spirit, like saying, I know what this is. This is the enemy trying to keep me silent again.
Yeah.
I said, I will not. My song is taking my voice back. Like, that's the name of the song. The enemy knows the power in our testimony. He knows the power in our voice. And if he can keep us silent, that's exactly where he wants us to be.
I like that, taking my voice back. I haven't heard it, but I will.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. My understanding, I haven't done a lot of research in the whole sexual abuse thing. I know it's huge, and I've been told that it happens to 1 out of 5 girls.
I think it's actually more than that.
Is it?
Yeah, but like, I'm not a statistic. No one's ever asked me, and if they did, I would have never answered. And so that's one thing with statistics, because I was kind of like researching statistics and stuff like that, and it's not accurate. Because there's so many people who don't talk about it.
Interesting. And the other thing I think people don't realize is it happens to guys.
Oh, yeah.
I think that the statistic I'd seen or heard or whatever was like 1 out of 8 guys. And if you put the math together, it's supposedly, out of a classroom, say of 30 people, it's 5 students. But I appreciate you bringing us back to that. I mean, how many out there, guys and girls, who have and carried that shame and that hurt? And I mean, what was that? Was there a point in time, I think it seems like you alluded to it, where you finally said, I'm not going to, I mean, I just shudder to think how many others are out there crying themselves to sleep, and angry and hurt and feeling dirty and all of the stuff you just said. I can't even imagine that. It makes my Italian blood boil, because it's like I want to grab some of these people, and I'm going to leave that because it probably wouldn't be healthy for me to say that, but it just bothers me.
Are you a dad?
Yes.
So typical. I mean, what dad wants their daughter to go through, or their son, and so that was one thing. My dad is very protective, okay, and that's, I'm not going to say it's the reason why I was quiet. There was many reasons why I was quiet and didn't talk. But my dad is very protective, and one thing is I didn't want to lose him. And so I didn't say anything to him. And so when I was going around, I have a very big family. I had to go around and tell my whole family, and I think God used those moments to
You literally had to go around?
Yeah, I mean, I have a giant family.
Yeah,
and I couldn't just gather everybody together. So it was one of those things like, okay, He's teaching me something. Like, He's showing me how to tell my story in a hopeful, not hurt way. And so I went and... So the night before, I told my dad, I had my note on my phone typed out of what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, and I began to fill up with anxiety. And I just felt God say, delete the note. Delete it.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to delete this note, but I trust that you're going to lead me in this conversation with my dad, because I don't know how he's going to react.
Yeah.
Like, I was terrified. And this was just 3 years ago when I told him. And so... I told my dad, and obviously his reaction was very hurt. We were both crying. He gave me this big hug, and he didn't say much, but he said it in just how he was acting, his reaction. He didn't have to say, I didn't need him to say much, but you could tell he'd been stewing on it all day and just thinking about it. And he had talked to me later that night, and he said, look, if you can forgive the person that did this to you, then I will. And so for my dad to say that...
That's huge.
Yeah, it was so huge for me, because I'm like, okay, God's doing something bigger. And then I would go around and share it with my family to know that their story was similar and that they needed to hear it too. And so God was showing me just on a small scale what he was going to do with that song. And so that's why I kept moving forward. And that's why when my abuser reached out, I didn't give in. I almost did, but it was like, God said, it's too late. I already got you here, So.
What do you say to somebody who is, watching our conversation, and they're saying, I'm crying myself to sleep. I'm hiding it. I mean, I'm amazed really that you were such a good student, and you were hiding it so well, and yet you were broken inside, and you were agonizing and crying yourself to sleep. And what do you say to that person they're listening to our conversation?
Yeah, I just want to say too, healing's a journey, and it doesn't look the same for everybody. For me, it was 15 years of silence, that was part of the healing, but it goes on even further. Like, I'm still healing, and I will until I leave this earth one day. And so I think one thing is just giving yourself grace in the healing. And it's okay to cry, but it's not okay to stay there. And I think that's one thing that can really hurt you, is just staying in that pit. But to find somebody that you trust and know to talk to. Because for me, I had those people, but I was too afraid, and I didn't have anybody that needed to tell me, like, let's go talk to somebody, because I was quiet. And so, like, I'm going to be that person for whoever's listening. Go talk to somebody. Find one person that you trust. And that is one step forward to healing.
You don't have to tell the whole world.
No.
You don't have to tell everybody.
You don't have to contact your abuser. You don't have to do any of that. It's for you. Like, the healing's for you, whatever you need.
Yes, exactly. And that whole issue of trusting, finding somebody you can trust and who will listen.
Yeah.
And we're such terrible listeners.
Yeah, we want to fix it.
Yeah, and
we want to fix it.
Yeah, and I'm a fixer, and had you told me the story before, I want to help Brooke, I want to fix it, But we need to listen, and we need to be there, and we need to be trustworthy.
Yeah.
And sometimes I know I've found, being with different friends, I like to talk too much, probably, but
it's in your blood.
It is. It's in my blood. But I need to sit. I've learned to listen, and sometimes not saying anything, just being there. And I admire your courage. Having a large family too. It's like, I can't imagine going to my whole family, telling them, cousins and aunts and uncles and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, for some they could say, that would be humiliating, but it's not your fault. It's not your issue.
Right.
And you don't have to live with it. You can be free.
Yeah. It's almost like that was, I mean, I know we're at a boot camp right now, but it's kind of like boot camp. Spiritual boot camp is what I call it. So, like, I could have taken, going out to tell all my friends and family, I could have taken that and, like, cowered down and gotten scared and backed away.
Easy.
But I was like, I'm going to lace these boots up and I'm going to go for it, because I don't know what God's doing, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And he did his thing. And in my family, and now I'm able to share my story with the world, and it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. How have people responded to the song, that particular song?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many people have messaged me saying thank you. I needed that. And I had this one girl at a show, and she said that she'd shared her story on the way home from one of my concerts. She's like, I shared it with my mom because of your song. Like, because you did that, like, and so, like, that's why I do it.
That's huge.
Like, that, just all it takes is one person to finally just speak.
Yeah.
Like, when you speak for the first time, that's healing.
Yes.
And then it's just a journey from there. And so,
I mean, for that, just if you had written that song for nobody else except that one girl.
Exactly. It was all worth it.
It was all worth it.
Yeah.
And the courage you needed to come out. And so you share this story in your concerts.
Every time. I've never, since I released it, I've never not shared it. And I probably will forever, no matter how many years I do this.
Good, because unfortunately that is going to be a continual problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could say no, but that's not the real world, and we're broken people, and we need to be able to say that we're broken people, and we need to be able to find that trustworthy person. And I don't know about you, but for me, it's not easy.
No.
It's not easy who you can trust and who you can rely on, who you can depend on. But you only need one.
Right. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all you need. So.
Well, there's so much we could be talking about. I mean, this is just the beginning. But I noticed something on your merch table. How's that? And I hope I get this right, but I think you have a shirt that says, "Just be you."
Yeah.
Brooke, I mean, there again, that's a whole nother conversation, but I really want to touch on that, if nothing else, briefly, because it's such a big thing in our culture. Identity is so confused. It is so mixed up. It is, I've lost track of how many ways we can identify ourselves on social media, and it seems like weekly anyway, there's something new coming out. And I'm not condemning anybody that's struggling with that, because it's a huge issue.
Right.
But if you don't know who you are, you don't know what your purpose is, And you can be bounced around into all kinds of different situations.
Yeah.
Have I picked up on the theme of that shirt then?
Yeah, you definitely did. We live in a society where it's fabricated a lot of times,
Yeah.
and you're scrolling through social media, Instagram, and you see these people that have a quote unquote perfect life,
Yeah.
or their clothes look amazing,
Yeah.
or you start comparing yourself, and
Absolutely.
that can be very destructive if you're not careful. And with the song, I just want people to know, like, you are you, and there's nobody else like you. And God created you for you and
Yes,
like your
yes.
purpose, and it's not going to look the same as everybody else.
No.
You're not going to act like everybody else. You're not going to think like everybody else. You're not going to dress like everybody else, and that's beautiful. Like, I think that's pretty incredible.
I think it's awesome. Just be you.
Yeah.
I mean, because there is no other you. I mean, I don't care. Even if you have an identical twin, you're still not exactly the same.
Right. We all have our own little quirks about us,
Yeah.
and that's what makes us unique and special.
Yeah.
And I think there's something pretty awesome when you like own it. When you own that.
Absolutely. And you celebrate that,
Yeah.
and whether you're, a goofball or whether whatever you are.
Look, I've been told that I was too, like back in high school, I had somebody say I was too much. And maybe I am sometimes.
Too much,
But
like strong personality? or
Just like I'm just a goofy person. Like you get me riled up, and I'm like a nut. Okay, so I can sometimes be a little too much, maybe.
Okay.
But I'm like, that's me. Like that's
No. Do you get the eyes rolling? I mean, I get that. It's like, I kind of get like, Steve, are you ever going to grow up? No.
But like, there's something like cool about that, Like
Yeah.
you're not. Just have fun in life. Like life's too short to not have fun.
It is. I mean, just enjoy life.
Yeah.
Enjoy your friends. And okay, if you're a little bit goofy, that's fine. I know I've survived. You survived.
Yeah.
It's just that's who you are.
Yeah, I can be weird sometimes too. I'll be weird all day. I mean, just let me.
We probably shouldn't talk too much
Yeah,
more
probably
about that
should
because we're going to be
cut
in
the
trouble.
camera.
We're going to set each other off. Is what's going to happen. But no, it's true. Enjoy life. I see people that are so serious, and then angry people, and social media feeds that. Social media is a great tool.
It can be.
It can be a really great tool, but that whole fandom thing, and I see I'll see somebody I follow, and like they're doing something live, and they've got 127 people watching, and then the next one they've got 53,000. I'm going, whoa, wait a minute here. I'm not real good at math, but that doesn't add up.
Yeah.
And that's not who you are. And I know, when I was younger, I struggled with my who I was and all that, and that's another conversation. But so many today are struggling, and celebrate who you are.
Yeah.
It really is. Learn to like yourself. Yeah, we all got faults. We've all got, weaknesses. But what are your strengths?
Exactly.
What's your passion?
Yeah.
How can you help somebody else? And I think that's a big thing too, is taking your eyes off yourself. And can I help Brooke? Can I help this person? What can I do? Listener trust, whatever it happens to be. Can I get a smile out of somebody? You
never know how much that could change someone's day.
No, you really don't.
So.
You really don't know. I was on a plane one time, and the flight attendant, I had no idea what she was going through, and I was just being myself, being nice and everything else, and she thanked me when I left. She goes, you have no idea what I've been going through. And she goes, you just were a bright light, and I hadn't even thought about it in that way. I was just being me.
Yeah. It does make you kind of take a step back in perspective of like, you don't know people are going through.
No,
and
you really don't.
Like, maybe you're having a bad day, but maybe someone else's is worse. Like maybe if you're aggravated and how you react to that person could set them over the edge and make them make a decision they shouldn't. You just don't ever know.
Yeah, you don't. You really don't.
Yeah.
It's and talking with this flight attendant, as I was leaving, I had a couple of minutes with her, and she goes, you don't know what people are going through. And she goes, we've been trained, because like if somebody comes on and they're just verbally harsh or whatever, they may have just lost their job, or they may have just lost a loved one, or you just don't know.
You don't.
And it's too easy to kind of come back. Thank you for being so vulnerable.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me and letting me share that. I never pass up an opportunity.
No,
to share,
I really appreciate it. And I had no idea, because we really just met earlier today. We're at the same event for students and everything, and we had the chance to have the conversation, which we will have to have a continued one with you and stay in touch with what you're doing, because you've got a message that needs to be heard, especially by younger people.
Yeah.
So
yeah, thank you.
Now, how do people follow you on social media, website, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I've got a website, BrookeRobertsonMusic.com. I've got Instagram and Facebook at Brooke Robertson Music. I've got a Twitter, Brooke Rob Music, and then a TikTok. I think it's Brooke Robertson Music 94. So I am all over.
You are everywhere,
yeah,
girl.
I'm all over.
No, that's awesome. But that's what we want. Please, those of you that are catching our conversation, reach out, listen to Brooke's music. There's a message there, and I love the storytelling. We haven't even really talked so much about that, which we need to talk more about. People love stories, and people obviously can relate to your story. And I have a different story, but some might relate more to my story than yours, and vice versa. And that's fine, because we're all telling a story, helping people through the journey of life.
Right. I agree, and I just want to open it up to whoever's listening. My inbox is always open, and that's one thing I always promised anyone that cares enough to see what I'm doing on social media. I'm going to take that time and pour out. And so,
thank you.
Yeah, I'm always available.
Thank you.
I've FaceTimed people
really?
I just did the other day. Yeah, I want to be there, because I know what it feels like to reach out to somebody like an artist, and a lot of times their messages are just hidden. I get that, but I know what it feels like to just be ignored. You know, and so I want to be available.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is so huge. It because it doesn't happen always, and I know there's times you probably experience the same thing I do. It's I really don't want to have to answer this, but they're reaching out to me, and I need to, because somehow something I said or they saw or whatever. And again, you never know. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
It's.
I have this conviction, if I ever feel that way of I don't really want to make that phone call today. There's always this conviction of what if they take their life tonight? So I always want to make myself available, because you just don't ever know.
You never know.
You
never know. It's one of the reasons I love doing school assemblies, is having the line of students afterwards. And I've lost track of how many coming up going, "Thanks for saving my life." And I'm going, "What?" I was going home to kill myself.
Wow.
And you made me realize I have value, that I matter, that I have a purpose, that I'm loved. And it's whoa.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I don't want to have to go to another young adult funeral.
Right.
I don't want to have to hear about another one. And hearing people's family crying out saying she didn't feel like she could turn to anybody. And the bullying thing, that's a whole nother conversation. But thank you for being you.
Yeah. No, thank you for letting me be me and for you being you.
Thanks. That's awesome. Well, we'll look forward to another conversation. So.
Me too. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
This is U Talk Radio.